Have you ever stared at your phone screen, looking at a missed call from a completely random plus 44, I don't know, plus 33 number, and just wondered about the hidden logic behind those digits?
Oh, definitely. I mean, usually we just swipe the notification away, right?
Right, exactly. We treat those numbers like digital static. But today, we are going to look right at that static and figure out the exact machinery driving it.
Yeah, because we rely on this global telecommunications network literally every single day, yet the physical architecture of it, how a signal actually figures out where to go across oceans, is entirely invisible to us.
It really is. So today, we are doing a deep dive into an incredibly comprehensive database published by CRMs.
Which is a fantastic resource, by the way.
Oh, it's huge. It's titled List of Mobile and Landline Telephone Codes by Country. And our mission for you today is to decode this invisible, highly organized numerical matrix that connects the entire globe.
Because once you understand the underlying grammar of how the world dials, you're never going to look at an international phone number the same way again.
You really won't.
It functions entirely as a language with strict, unforgiving rules.
Yeah.
I mean, these international codes are the literal routing instructions that operate the global network. Without them, your call doesn't just go nowhere, it bounces aggressively against the walls of your local network, basically unable to find an exit door.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because before we take this grand tour of the globe, you need to understand the basic mechanics of how a call actually travels across a border.
Right, the actual physical process.
Exactly, like what is happening physically when you press send. There is a specific three-step rule for calling internationally. First, you need the international exit code, which is usually the plus sign or 00.
Yep.
Second, you have the country code. And third, the local number. But here's the part that always trips people up.
Dropping the 0.
Yes. You usually have to drop the initial 0 of the local number if it has one. And I feel like everyone messes this up at least once. Why do we drop the 0?
Well, it actually comes down to how automated switchboards have worked for the last 70 years.
Wow, that long.
Yeah. In most countries, that initial 0 is a domestic trunk code. It's a signal to your local cell tower or phone exchange that says, hey, this call is leaving my immediate city, bump it up to the national network.
Okay, so it's a local elevator button.
Basically, yeah. But when a call is coming in from outside the country, it arrives via an international gateway. It is already on the national network.
Oh, I see.
So if you leave that 0 in there, the system gets entirely confused because it tries to bump the call up a level it has already surpassed.
That makes so much sense. So dialing that little plus symbol on your smartphone, the one you get by holding down the 0 key, is essentially flashing a universal digital passport.
That's a great way to look at it.
It tells your local phone carrier to just route your data down a submarine cable or up to a satellite, completely bypassing the domestic system.
Precisely. And once you cross that digital border using the country code,
Right.
you encounter the next layer of structural organization.
Which is?
Well, many networks immediately divide fixed landlines from mobile phones. And what's fascinating here is that this separation isn't just for user convenience, it actually dictates physical routing.
Okay, let's use Spain as an example from the source data.
Sure.
If you dial into Spain, you use their specific code, plus 34, but the very next digit tells the entire Spanish network exactly what physical infrastructure to look for.
Right?
Like landlines in Spain start with an 8 or a 9. Mobile numbers start with a 6 or a 7.
And you see that same structural choice across Europe, like in France, which is plus 33. Mobile numbers also start with a 6 or 7.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and Germany is plus 49, and their mobiles start with a 15, 16, or 17. They do this because routing a call to a copper wire plugged into a wall in Berlin requires an entirely different set of technical steps than hunting down a cell phone currently moving on a train toward Munich.
Right. The train is moving, the wall is not.
Exactly. By putting that identifier right at the front of the number, the network sorts the traffic instantaneously.
It's like sorting mail by zip code before you even look at the street address?
Yes, it prevents the network from wasting processing power.
Wow. Okay, so now that we have the mechanics down, let's apply this to the map, starting with the Americas. Because when you look at how numbers are assigned here, it is not just random arithmetic.
Not at all.
You are looking at a history of diplomatic treaties and heavy regional integration.
Yeah, North America operates under the North American Numbering Plan, or NANP. This is a massive, unified system where the United States and Canada share the exact same overarching country code.
The mighty +1.
The mighty +1, exactly.
But it goes beyond just the US and Canada, which
Yeah.
is wild. When you look at the Caribbean, you find entirely sovereign nations sharing that exact same +1 code.
Yeah, people don't often realize that.
Right. Like the Dominican Republic uses area codes 809, 829, and 849. Jamaica uses 876. These independent nations don't have their own standalone country codes.
Nope, they route everything through the +1 framework.
Which is crazy to me. My immediate thought is, why wouldn't a sovereign country want its own code?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, you really have to look back at post-war telecommunications history.
Okay.
The North American numbering plan was developed in the late 1940s by AT&T. At the time, they were building out this vast, interconnected physical network.
Right.
For Caribbean nations, joining that established infrastructure was basically an economic and logistical no-brainer.
Yeah.
It effectively treats a massive geopolitical area as a single domestic network.
So it's essentially telecommunications, free trade agreement.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, right next door in Central America, they took a totally different path. Costa Rica is +506, covering the whole country. Panama is +507.
Yeah, they didn't join the +1 club.
And Mexico stands completely alone with +52, broken down into city codes like 55 for Mexico City.
And as you move further south, the system completely shifts away from shared umbrellas. Every single nation in South America fiercely maintains its own unique two-digit country code.
Like Argentina's +54.
Right. Brazil is +55. Chile is +56, all the way down to Uruguay at +598.
So South America's approach allows for absolute sovereign identification.
Yes. There was no shared domestic illusion down there. Every border crossing is digitally documented.
I want to go back to that North American +1 for a second, though, because the sheer size of that shared network created a really strange sociological side effect.
Oh, the area codes.
Yes. Because the +1 covers so much territory, the local area codes underneath it became the real identifiers. And eventually, they became massive regional status symbols.
They really did.
A routing instruction literally turned into a cultural brand. Like 212 for New York or 310 for Los Angeles. You don't just live in LA, you are a 310.
People will literally pay money to acquire a cell phone number with a vintage area code to prove they've been in a city for a long time.
It's so funny, the routing matrix became a marker of authenticity.
It did. But if we cross the Atlantic to Europe, the cultural approach to numbers shifts significantly.
How so?
Well, it moves from personal brand identity to strict bureaucratic organization.
Ah, okay. Because Europe is densely packed, and the numbering reflects that. The European Union is incredibly rigid. Spain is +34, France is +33, Germany is +49.
Right. And the UK sits at +44. Italy is +39.
Every time you cross a relatively short physical distance, you hit a totally different digital gateway.
And that fragmentation is entirely due to history. Throughout the 20th century, European telecommunications were run by strict state monopolies.
Like the post offices, right?
Exactly. Usually the national postal, telegraph, and telephone ministries. Each sovereign state built a walled garden.
So Poland used +48?
Yeah, and Romania took +40. It is a dense continent, and the numbering system was forced to carve out clear, undeniable boundaries between dozens of separate national networks.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Just when you think you understand the European logic of breaking everything down by country and then fragmenting it further by city area codes, you look at the Nordics.
Oh, Denmark.
Specifically Denmark. Denmark's country code is +45, but underneath that, they completely lack urban or zonal prefixes.
They don't use city codes at all.
No. Any number can belong anywhere in the country. It is drastically simplified. Why doesn't every country do what Denmark does? I mean, it's peak Nordic minimalism, and it seems so much easier to manage.
It is elegant, for sure, but it only works because of population scale and flat geography.
Okay, explain that.
Well, Denmark can afford that minimalism because they only have around 6 million people. If a country like Germany, with over 80 million people, tried to abandon local routing codes, the central databases would be totally overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed trying to locate every single user simultaneously.
Exactly. European mobile codes generally prioritize a logical, predictable user experience, but they are constrained by the sheer volume of legacy infrastructure they have to manage.
And some autonomous territories in Europe fiercely maintain their own digital borders, even if they are politically linked to another country.
Right.
Like the Faroe Islands use +298, and Greenland uses +299. They easily could have been lumped into Denmark's +45, but they aren't.
Because the country code isn't just technical, you know. It's deeply political.
Yeah.
Possessing your own international dialing code is an internationally recognized assertion of autonomous identity. It proves you exist on the global grid independently.
Wow. Okay, so if Europe is all about sovereign identity and historical walled gardens, exploring Asia and Oceania is like stepping into a masterclass on extreme engineering.
Absolutely.
We are talking about handling vast distances and just unimaginable density. How does a network even physically route calls for billions of people without instantly crashing?
With staggering database architecture. I mean, take East Asia. You have massive tech economies running enormous traffic.
Right. China operates under +86.
Japan is +81. South Korea is +82. The sheer volume of data flowing through the international submarine cables landing in those countries requires gateways that can process millions of routing requests a second.
Millions a second. That's insane. And the density in South Asia is what really catches my attention. You have over 1.8 billion people in that region.
Yeah, it's massive.
India alone manages its entire national network under the country code +91. Just picture the physical reality of that for a second. When someone in London dials a +91 number, that signal hits an international gateway in, say, Mumbai or Chennai.
Yeah.
From there, how does the system find one specific mobile phone among a billion devices?
It relies on something called a home location register, or HLR.
A home location register.
Yeah. Think of the HLR as the country's ultimate central digital phone book, but one that updates in real time.
Okay.
When that call hits the Indian gateway, the gateway literally pauses the connection and pings the HLR. It essentially asks, hey, where was this specific SIM card last seen?
Wow.
And the database checks and says, oh, that SIM card pinged a cell tower in Bangalore 3 minutes ago. The gateway then shoots the call down the trunk line to Bangalore.
To manage this under a single +91 code for over a billion people is just a phenomenal feat of real-time computing.
It really is.
It's basically a real-time tracking system operating on a continental scale. But then you look at Oceania, and the engineering challenge flips entirely. It's not just population density anymore. It's vast, empty geographic space.
Yes, and Australia has engineered a really fascinating structural solution for this.
Australia's country code is +61.
Right. But underneath that, they utilize a highly rigid, standardized 10-digit format for everything.
Yeah.
It is strictly uniform.
They use single digits to map out a massive continent. If you dial +61, the very next number tells the system exactly where the call is going.
Exactly.
Like a 2 corresponds to Sydney in the Central East, a 3 routes you south to Melbourne, 7 throws the signal north to Brisbane.
And 8 pushes it all the way out west to Adelaide and Perth.
It's so clean.
And what's fascinating here is that this uniformity is a deliberate guardrail against distance.
How so?
Well, when you're moving a fragile digital signal across thousands of miles of uninhabited desert, you simply cannot afford routing errors.
Oh, because if it gets lost.
Right. By enforcing a strict 10-digit structure where the first digit acts as a massive geographic net, the network instantly knows which continental trunk cable to fire the data down.
So it guarantees the signal doesn't bounce aimlessly around the outback looking for a local switch.
Exactly.
So we've covered the shared treaties in the Americas, the sovereign precision in Europe, and the massive scale in Asia and Australia. But let's zoom all the way out and look at the macro level patterns.
I love this part.
Because when you view Africa and the Middle East from a satellite level, there is this beautiful, almost poetic logic to how the numbers were assigned.
Yeah, this is where the decisions made decades ago by the International Telecommunication Union, the UN agency that handles this, become highly visible.
Africa is effectively the continent of 2s. North Africa starts with the 20 series.
Right.
Egypt is +20. Morocco is +212. Algeria is +213. And then sub-Saharan Africa mostly uses a 2 followed by 2 other digits.
Like South Africa's +27.
Nigeria is +234. Kenya is +254. It creates a massive continental footprint.
It's a highly recognizable signature. The ITU grouped these geographically. And, these routing codes have real economic weight today.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For instance, dialing the +216 prefix for Tunisia might cost an average of around 43 euro cents per minute from certain European networks,
Wow.
regardless of whether you are hitting a fixed line or a mobile. The prefix itself triggers specific billing agreements between international telecom companies.
That is wild. Okay, so if Africa is the continent of twos, the Middle East is undeniably the region of nines.
Yeah.
Iran is plus 98, Iraq is plus 964, Jordan is plus 962, and Kuwait is plus 965.
And the United Arab Emirates, at +971, is a perfect case study in modern infrastructure.
Let's talk about the UAE, yeah.
The UAE system is explicitly engineered to handle disproportionate international call volumes. Because cities like Dubai act as global trade hubs, their digital gateways have to be as wide and robust as their shipping ports.
That's a great comparison.
They are processing an immense amount of transient international business traffic every single day under that 971 banner.
Knowing instantly that a +2 is likely Africa and a +9 is the Middle East feels like unlocking a cheat code for the world map.
It really does.
So what does this all mean for you today? We've talked a lot about physical cables, history, and geography, but let's bring it back down to your daily reality in the digital economy. These codes aren't just for punching into a dial pad anymore.
Oh, absolutely not. They are the backbone of automated global commerce. I mean, think about how much you rely on apps like WhatsApp.
Constantly.
Right. Saving contacts with the full plus prefix and country code is no longer optional. It is mandatory for these platforms to function.
You literally can't start a chat without it.
Exactly. If you don't use that universal passport, the software simply cannot verify the device on the global grid.
And this is exactly where companies like CRMs, who compiled the database we are exploring, come in. They specialize in something called API verification with HLR lookup.
Yes, the HLR we mentioned earlier.
Right. Now, I have to admit, when I first read about businesses verifying our phone numbers in bulk, I instantly thought of telemarketers. Isn't an API just a tool to help spam callers bother us more efficiently?
You know, this raises an important question, and it's a very fair assumption to make. But to understand why it's crucial, we really need to clarify what those tools actually do.
Okay, lay it on me.
An API is essentially just a digital waiter. It allows a business's software to communicate directly with the telecom network's software.
Okay.
And that HLR lookup we talked about earlier, pinging the central database to find a user, is what the API is asking for. It asks, hey, is this phone number actually turned on and capable of receiving a message right now?
Okay, so a company pings my phone number in the background before they send me something. But why?
Well, in a digitally connected world, this is about strict data hygiene. Every time a company sends an international SMS, it costs them money. If an airline is trying to send out 10,000 flight cancellation alerts and half of their database is missing the country codes, those messages bounce. The airline still pays for the failed routing attempt, and the passenger never gets the update.
Or think about two-factor authentication.
Yes, perfect example.
When you try to log into your bank from a new computer and they text you a 6-digit code, if your bank's database doesn't have your number formatted with the exact international architecture we've been talking about, that text disappears into the void.
Exactly. Or consider customer service. Many global companies now run their support lines through AI agents directly on WhatsApp.
Which is super common now.
Very common. They integrate complex, automated workflows. If the local routing digits are wrong, or a fixed landline in Spain is incorrectly marked as a mobile phone, the entire automated chain breaks down. Verification tools prevent massive system failures across borders. It basically ensures the nervous system of global commerce keeps firing correctly.
That makes total sense. It's not just about cold calls. It's about making sure that when you absolutely need a piece of data to cross the planet instantly, the pathways are clear and validated.
Exactly.
So to summarize our deep dive today, the simple numbers we punch into the glass screens of our phones are actually a rich, highly engineered map of the world.
Yeah, they really are.
They reveal massive diplomatic treaties, like the shared +1 of the Americas. They reflect rigid historical bureaucracy, like the precise fixed versus mobile divides in Germany. They map out massive physical geographies, like the strict 10-digit grids guiding signals across Australia. And they show us macroeconomic patterns, from the 2s of Africa to the 9s of the Middle East.
They are the silent, invisible agreements that keep humanity talking. And I want to leave you with a final thought to chew on, drawing on one specific detail about telecommunications foresight.
Oh, I'm intrigued. What is it?
Well, Morocco currently operates on +212. but they have actively reserved the code plus 210 for future expansion. Think about the implications of that for a second.
Wait, they are holding an entire country code in reserve.
Yes, they are anticipating the phantom networks of the future.
Phantom networks.
Yeah. As global populations explode and we connect billions of new non-human devices to the grid, I'm talking autonomous vehicles, smart city infrastructure, agricultural sensors, AI agents, telecommunication planners are quietly hoarding invisible digital real estate.
That is wild to think about.
They are carving out massive numerical blocks for cities that are still expanding, for technologies that are barely in their infancy, or for entire digital ecosystems that literally don't even exist yet. So
Wow.
the next time you dial a number, ask yourself, how much of our global numbering system is currently sitting entirely empty, silently waiting in the dark for the future to arrive?
Invisible cities of numbers waiting to be occupied. Well, the next time you get a missed call from a random international code, you definitely won't just swipe it away. You'll know exactly what massive digital machinery delivered it to your screen.